So let's do topic number 8. And topic number 8 is dream of being a spiritual man. Says, when I was a teenager in high school, I wanted to be a pharmacist and graduate from Sanford. And a few years ago, I changed my mind and wanted to be a history teacher. But the way the world is looking, I don't know about that either. But I want to look at the dreams that we should be having as a spiritual man instead of our physical dreams. Okay? You will never be a perfect Christian, but the first thing I want to talk about is dream of being a perfect Christian. You can always dream about it. Dreaming of being a perfect Christian is something we can talk about because we will never be perfect as a Christian. We will never be perfect as a Christian. Only one man was perfect, and his name is Jesus Christ, the perfect sacrifice and spotless Lamb of God. We find there were some great men of God in the Bible, and even they were not perfect. We find Noah and his drunkenness in Genesis 9:21. We find David and his fornication and coveting in 2 Samuel 4:11. And we find Saul being turned into Paul the Apostle and persecuting Christians in Acts 8:1. These are some of the greatest men in the Bible, and they were not perfect Christians. They had their own faults as we do, but we can dream about it and our very best and do our very best to live for God each and every day and just love Him and have faith that He will always be there for us when we need Him, as long as we try to live for Him and do His will. The second thing I want to look at is dreaming of being a spiritual man. Is, it's literally what the title says about being a spiritual man. There's nights I sit in my recliner wishing and hoping that one day, I can be a good enough husband and father to somebody. And in one of my favorite movies, in the movie Courageous, Alex Kendrick said, he said, I don't want to be just a good enough father. I don't want to be just a good enough husband. But what about that as a Christian? I want to be a great Christian husband and a great Christian father to whoever my future wife and kids one day will be. And when I think about that, only God knows how much, okay? And that ought to be a great example to how we ought to want to live and how we ought to want to raise our family and live right and do right by them, is being spiritual about it. We see some examples were when Isaac, he was mourning, because his mother had just died, and Rebekah comforted him in Genesis 24:62 through 66. We find Joseph, I believe he helped Mary as much as he could when she was expecting Jesus, okay? And that's in Luke 2:4 through 6. And we find Job when his wife told him to curse God and die, and he didn't, in Job 2:9 and 10. So part 2 is next.